Hi everyone, time for an update on the cast iron bank that I showed you in the previous video. I'm in my garage doing this, so there's probably a little bit of an echo. If you missed the last video, then this is a cast iron Hubley bank. It's in the shape of a mailbox, obviously, and it was made in the 1920s. When I bought the bank, it was repainted a shade of yellow-green. The original paint was a darker forest green, but someone a while back decided it should be repainted. And I'll post a few photos of what this bank looked like before and what the original surfaces would have looked like. Now, I believe in keeping antiques as original as possible, but this bank was kind of really far gone as far as the paint on it. In the earlier video, I asked what I should do with a bank in that condition, and Mike Lyman, MA Lyman 24, suggested that I bring the bank to an auto body shop and see if they could bead blast it. If you don't know what bead blasting is, it's like sand blasting, but instead of shooting sand at very high pressure, you use tiny glass beads. Glass is a bit softer than sand, it's not as abrasive, and it won't remove as much of the surface of the object. And I thought that was a terrific idea. Thanks again, Mike. Mr. Doughboy 356 also offered to blast this for me if I couldn't find a local shop to do it, and I really appreciate that offer, Mr. Doughboy. But I did do some research, and I found a local machine shop, and they said they could bead blast the bank. In fact, they did it that day. It cost about $15, which I thought was a real bargain for a couple of reasons. First, if I were to strip the paint off this bank, then I would use a product called Citrus Strip, and a bottle of Citrus Strip would have cost me at least $10, probably closer to $15. Then I'd have to factor in my time to remove the paint, but the big part of my thinking was that I don't believe I could have done anywhere near as good of a job with removing the paint as this machine shop did. These surfaces are absolutely clean. They removed the old paint from all of the detailed areas of the bank, like the lettering in the front here. They left a little bit of paint on the inside, which I think is okay. They did an impressive job. So right now, I have a bank that has clean cast iron surfaces. Every part of the bank, including the bolt and the nut, are made out of cast iron. So if I don't do anything to the bank, then eventually the surfaces would oxidize. And as I said, I want this bank to look original. So that brings us to the next step in the process. I'm going to paint this. I'm not going to powder coat it. That would require special pigments and machinery. The original bank would have been painted by hand, or maybe sprayed, or maybe dipped, but it was painted with traditional paint, and so in a sense that's what I'm going to do. Now, I found a product that I've never used before, so fingers crossed that it does a good job. It's this. It's Rust-Oleum Ultra Cover Paint and Primer. It cost about $6 for this can, but this paint seems to be exactly what I'm looking for. First, it's the right color, or it seems to be. Second, since the surfaces of the bank are now bare metal, I want to prime it so that the paint has a proper surface to bond to. And this paint has the primer built into it, so I can do the priming and painting in one step. And I like that if it works as stated. This is also a spray paint, so it should go on evenly if I do it right. And last, it's a semi-gloss paint. I wanted either a flat or a semi-gloss paint for this bank. I don't think the original paint on the bank would have been a high sheen, glossy finish type of paint. So this paint should do the trick. All right, now the next step is to disassemble the parts of this bank and start painting. I'll do the inside surfaces first. That way, if the paint doesn't work as well as I hope, then only the inside of the bank will be painted, but I have a good feeling about this paint. I think it'll work fine. This paint supposedly cures in an hour, but I'll give it a day just to be safe. Then I'll flip the parts around and paint the outside surfaces. So let's get to disassembling this bank. Okay, here's the bank with all of the parts disassembled. And you can see if they left some of the paint on the inside surfaces, or maybe you can, right at the bottom there. It's a little bit of the original green paint, but not a big deal, not a problem at all. You can also see that there are numbers. There's 1571, there's this 1572. This is the flat for the mailbox. I assume those are numbers for the mold that was used. The cast iron was poured into for this model of bank. Hubley produced so many cast iron banks and so many cast iron toys. Back in the day, they likely had some sort of cataloging storage system where they would keep track of all the different parts and all the different molds. Another thing I noticed is that some of the cast iron parts have just a little bit of roughness on the edges, like right here, for example. Right there. Now that's from the casting process. And I could use a Dremel tool and a grinding stone and smooth that out a little bit, but I'm gonna leave it as is. It's not really noticeable, and I think it adds to the originality of the bank. This is made of cast metal, not stamped metal, so those sorts of things are gonna happen. Also, I'm gonna quickly wipe down the surfaces with acetone because there could be dirt and oils from my fingers, and I want to remove all of those before I apply the primer and paint. So I'll do that, and then we'll start the painting process. Okay, here we go. Everything was wiped down with acetone, so the surfaces should be nice and clean and oil-free. I don't know if it'll make a difference. I put a piece of wax paper here just so any paint won't stick and the parts won't stick to the cardboard. Probably not going to make a big difference. Shake up this paint, and let's see how it works. Now, like I said, I'm just doing the insides. I'll try not to get anything on the edges here because that's going to all be done later on when I flip this over and do the outside. Simple as that, I guess. All right, I will let that sit and then see what happens in a little while. Okay, here we are, day 2 of the bank project, and I'm pretty impressed with how this came out. And actually the wax paper did a pretty good job with all this. So, not too bad. So, let me peel these off. That's pretty much done. Get rid of that. And I have another piece of wax paper here. And we'll do the other side. Now I'll probably only do one coat because the stuff tends to go on a little bit heavy. Actually, you know what? Let's do this again. Give that another coat too. And here we go. Side, top, sides. I know, watching somebody spray paint does not make for the most exciting video, but I thought I'd just give you an idea of what I am doing here. Don't want to put this on too thick. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So as I did yesterday, I'll let this sit in my garage for about a day, let it properly dry, and then I'll show you what the final product is. Okay, here we are. Here's the mailbox a few days later. The dark green color, I think, came out really nice. And I think I will leave it as it is for now. There's really nothing more that needs to be done to it. And I'm really happy with it. In honor of its age, it's almost 100 years old, I've decided I'm going to put a few coins in it. A Liberty V nickel. And Indian head penny, and a buffalo nickel. That was a fun restoration, and who knows, maybe there'll be other videos like this in the future. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you soon.